So we got some new revelations today, and I also wanted to show some stuff that people online have showed me. First of all, if you don't recognize the spreadsheet, just watch my last video where I go over it in detail. So anyway, I was looking at the years on this spreadsheet, and I noticed that the flood of Noah began on Heshvan 1723 BC. And, that caught my eye because of all the 23s. And here we are in 2023, and it seems like the rapture and Great Tribulation are about to start. And then looking back, at the flood of Noah, it looks like it started in 23 BC. So there's this really, this weird connection going on here with the number 23 and judgment. So the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to look at how many years there are between 23 BC and 2023 AD. So I calculated it, and it comes out to 4,345 years. Okay, 45. And that number is interesting for a number of reasons. One of them is, well, if you watch the video that I linked to and recommended from my last video, from Raw Repent's channel, where he goes into looking at Back to the Future, and how when they're saying go 88 miles per hour, that's really just a reference to the 8,080 days from September 11th, 2001 until, Jubilee year Feast of Trumpets 2023, which is October 26th. That's exactly 8,080 days. And, if you drop the zeros, it's like 88. So that's really, when they say 88 miles per hour, that's really just what they're encoding there. And this, getting back to this, so that was 45 years, right? 4,345 years. So the 45, if you add those two numbers, it comes out to 88. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But I found some even more crazy stuff with that. So then I took the number 45, and I searched for it in the digits of pi, and you can do that online at the pi search page. You can punch in any number, and it gives you like the position of pi that it occurs at, and it gives you like the surrounding digits. So it looks like it occurs at 9666, position 9666 of pi, and the digits just prior to that number are really, really interesting, because you've got 23, right? And then you've got a 73. So that kind of sounds like our 1923 Jubilee, and 50 years later, our 1973 Jubilee. The Mandate for Palestine in 1923 and the Yom Kippur War in 1973. And then you've got this 5998, and that kind of threw me for a loop for a while, until I realized it was kind of a riddle. So if you take the 5998, and that's the first, so it's 4 digits here, right? So that's the first year. And then the next digit, the second digit's for 5999, third digit's for 6000, and the fourth digit's for 6001. And 6001 Anno Mundi on our spreadsheet is equivalent to Gregorian year 2023, which is our Jubilee year. So it's really just, you've got our 45, and then just prior to that, you've got the 1923, 1973, and then this sort of encoded 2023. It's a really, really kind of cool little riddle here. And again, the 45 is the number of years between the start of Noah's flood and the start of, presumably we're speculating, right, the start of the Great Tribulation. And it gets better. So this number here, 45, ends on the digit number 9669, right, of pi. And Methuselah, whose death was the signal for the start of the flood, because his name actually means his death shall bring, because it's supposed to mean his death shall bring the judgment. He died at 969 years of age. So that number really looks a lot like that 9669, and that's pretty remarkable to me. And speaking of Methuselah, Methuselah begat Lamech at 187 years of age. And as I mentioned before, Methuselah's name means his death shall bring, because his death brought the flood. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. And if we look at our the Gregorian date for the Jubilee year Feast of Trumpets, right, which is October 26th, 2023, if you do a little numerics on it and just add, the month and the day and the 2023, you get 187, which is just like another sort of encoded reference to Methuselah, because that was his age when he begat Lamech. And so the next thing is this connection with Revelation 12. And so Jubilee year Feast of Trumpets is on Tishri 10, the 10th day of the 7th month, the true 7th month, right? Because the Jewish calendar is off. And that corresponds to the Gregorian dates of October 25th through 26th, sunset to sunset in Jerusalem. And those, that 1025 and 1026 looks kind of familiar, right? Because if you drop the zeros, it's like 125 and 126. And that looks kind of like Revelation 12 verses 5 and 6, right? 125 and 126. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but it's kind of interesting because Revelation 12:5, says, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And then Revelation 12:6 is, and the woman, meaning referring to Israel, fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So, yeah, that's just an amazing parallel, because it sounds like rapture followed by Israel in travail. So the next thing here, I think Brother Andreas showed this one to me. So if you take the dates of the 1973 Yom Kippur War, it started on October 6th, 1973, and it went to October 25th, at which point there was a ceasefire. So now if you go one Jubilee later, exactly, right, 50 years, from the start date of the 2023 Israeli conflict, right, which was October 7th, to the speculative rapture date of October 26th, right? So it's like just adding one to those prior dates. You get this kind of 7 and then the 2-6, right, from the October 7th and the October 26th. So that's kind of neat. And I also noted here that it would be kind of crazy for Jacob's trouble, to resume exactly 50 years to the day after the end of, the Yom Kippur War, which was also, essentially trouble. So very cool. So this next one is about the Day of Atonement, and specifically where it's defined in the Bible. And I think it was Brother Andreas showed me this one too. So the Day of Atonement is described in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 26 to 27. And if you add up those chapter and verse numbers, you get 23 plus 26 equals 49, and the 23 plus 27 for verse 27 is 50. And those numbers immediately stand out as being Jubilee-related numbers, right? Because you've got your 49-year Jubilee type and your 50-year Jubilee type. And like I showed in my last video, 2023 is, it happens to be a Jubilee year for these two different Jubilee counts, right? One of them is the entrance of the Israelites into Canaan when they crossed the Jordan. So it's the 70th Jubilee on that count, and it's the 120th Jubilee on the count that started when Adam and Eve were placed in the Garden of Eden. And so the first of those, right, the Israelite Jubilee count, that's a 49-year Jubilee count. And the second one, the Garden of Eden Jubilee count, that's a 50-year Jubilee type. So, it's got these verses here seem to like encode a lot of this information, right? You've got chapter 23, that's 2023, and then you've got the chapter and verse numbers reflecting the two different types of Jubilees that 2023 happens to coincide with, right? That happens to be Jubilee years for the 49-year Jubilee type and the 50-year Jubilee type. And then, of course, it's just mentioning, this is about, the verses are about Day of Atonement. So right there, it also is pointing to the day that we're looking at, right? The Day of Atonement, Feast of Trumpets, whatever, in a Jubilee year. And also it's not lost on me that this is starting at verse 26, and we're looking at the 26th of October, which is when Tishri 10, Gregorian day Tishri 10 falls on. So you would have the 23 for 2023, and then the 26 for potentially representing the 26th of the Gregorian month, So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that's all I've got for y'all. I just wanted to share that with you. And yeah, drop a like and a comment below. And thanks for watching.